I didn't have these hairs, just with the natural like a room light. If you zoom in on the crown, of course, heart palpitations, chest pains. About 5.5 months ago, I had a hair transplant. Actually, it was my second one. Before that, I was like really bald. And I tried many different ways to regrow hair, starting from different natural remedies that obviously didn't work, to some proven methods like finasteride and minoxidil. Of course, nothing gave me as much result as transplant, and nobody on the street will actually think that I was looking like this before. So no, that's great, but we know transplant is only illusion of density, and we need to preserve our like natural hair as much as possible. And currently what I'm doing, I'm on 2 medications, obviously finasteride to prevent further progression of male pattern baldness. I've been on this drug for over 2 years, and it looks like my hair was pretty much stabilized. I didn't recede any further, but certain areas still have a lot of like a really thin miniaturized hairs. For example, top of my crown where this swirl is, and also like places like temple peaks, for example. So I decided to try oral minoxidil medication. In the past, I tried the topical version, which everyone knows about it. You can buy basically anywhere. And I was using it together with microneedling for 12 months before my first transplant. And it gave me pretty good, to be honest, boost to a lot of miniaturized hairs that I had in my mid-scalp and crown. But it was obviously not enough to avoid the transplant. So I had to stop the medication before transplant. And I decided not to come back after my second transplant though, since I still didn't touch certain areas. I spoke with the surgeon and he said it's really not needed, it's a lot of hair in there, and of course I wanted to use as little hair as possible from my donor, you know, just to keep it as a reserve for the future should I need it. So we decided to try minoxidil, but in oral version. I'm taking currently 2.5 milligram of Loniten brand oral minoxidil, and I've been taking it a little bit more than 5 months. In the beginning, in the first weeks, I've seen actually a really like encouraging improvement, especially in the crown. It appeared like after starting this medication, I started noticing new growth happening in certain areas, and it was really great. And as the months went by, my miniaturized thin hair that were like native, not transplanted, gained quite a bit of thickness, which improved overall like a aesthetic of my, you know, of my hair. Right now, of course, it's pretty much impossible to judge the efficacy of this drug because, you know, my transplanted hair grew wild, to be honest, and I have got suspicions, and I'm actually pretty positive on that, due to oral minoxidil, my transplanted hair growth was so much faster compared to my first transplant. Because right now I'm about 5.5 months only after my second transplant, and it looks already really thick and nice. Like, I'm really happy, look at that. But there is one place that have not been touched with the transplant at all, and we can actually clearly see the efficacy of this drug, which is the whorl of the crown. This is how my crown looked like 1 month after my second transplant. And if you're gonna zoom into the whorl, which is right over here, you can have a clear idea how it looked. It was, you know, it had a lot of hair, but the hair like itself was not really that thick. We see a lot of hair just sprouting here and there. Is nothing crazy, to be honest, and this area was not touched with the transplant. This was after about 3 months of being on medication, so it was the transplant already like started to grow, started to come through, but again, it was just the beginning stages of it. And if you zoom in on the crown, of course, yeah, it looks still like thinner. It looks visibly like thinner than over here. But in general, I feel like a lot of hairs, like they got just a tiny bit thicker in these 3 months. And before that, I've seen like a few like new kind of hair growth. Even for example over here, you see like a little tiny like, you know, hair sprouting through. Like it probably was not there. It's again hard to say. It's my microscopical gains. And this picture I took today, a little bit more than 5 months progress basically. My hair was a little bit like damp, wet. It was not super dry. But again, of course, the angle is not perfect, but I tried to kind of recreate, and overall, if you look at this, like the whole area, it looks thicker. The hair shaft diameter looks better, and even I feel like the hair got a little bit darker. Of course, difficult to judge by the pictures because they're always like kind of taken in different light condition, you know, in a different like time of the day. But in general, whenever like I see myself in the mirror, I really feel like my hair got just a tiny bit darker, not just over there, but all over the place basically. And actually a lot of people reporting this when they taking oral minoxidil, that the hair is getting a little bit darker, gets more pigment. Took another picture with a flash here, and of course with a flash it's gonna be like really like not realistic, but we can like see every individual hair taken with a flash. And yeah, I think actually it covered much more than it was before. You can kind of see that there is some thinning happening, but you know, overall is really not that bad. And this is like the only weak spot, and I believe it was a little bit weaker before my second transplant. So this is a result of being 5 months of oral minoxidil. Of course, I'm expecting even more improvement in the next 5 months, up to 1 year roughly, before the results gonna plateau. And after that, I'm gonna see if I'm happy, then I'm not gonna do anything. If I'm not happy, maybe either I'm gonna increase the dose of oral minoxidil, or maybe add microneedling, or maybe even can I get another small, procedure done. I don't know, we shall see. If we're talking about side effects, I didn't experience anything like major. I didn't have any like heart palpitations, any chest pains. The only side effects that's like the most common basically while taking oral minoxidil is hypertrichosis, which is unwanted body hair growth, or wanted for some people. And the only area in my whole body where I noticed it, the connection between the eyebrows and the temple peak over here. Just look at this picture that I taken just now, literally, and I taken it with a flashlight, because with the flashlight you're gonna be able to see every single hair. Flash gonna give a little bit of shadow, and you're gonna be able to see it. In this area, actually, I was really surprised today after this picture. It's quite a lot of like little tiny hairs here and there. That it's obviously the effect of oral minoxidil, because I didn't have this much hairs in this particular area. Of course, I had a transplant for the temple peaks, but it was really minor, like 100 grafts, just to kind of give it structure, so you can kind of see which the transplant hairs are and which are the natural. So like a little bit thicker and longer hairs, this is gonna be the transplanted ones, and like this really tiny fine hairs, these are the natural non-transplanted hairs. And to be honest, overall it's great. This area looks really natural combination of oral minoxidil and small tiny transplant. But if you look at the same area without the flashlight, just with the natural like a room light, basically, you really straight away cannot see any of this like a crazy amount of hypertrichosis happening. These little tiny hairs, there is still visible few, like literally 5-6 hairs here and there, but everything else is really not there. Overall, I think even for the temple peaks, oral minoxidil really gave a great boost. And the same thing obviously on another side as well. Like if you zoom in, it looks quite a few hairs here and there sprouting. Again, obviously oral minoxidil. In some areas I actually appreciate, like around the temple peak, it creates this like really natural appearance. But this area, of course, it's not perfect. And again, when we're looking at more natural light, it really does not stand out at all. If you zoom in, it's yeah, it looks pretty good. To be honest, it's really not that bad. Again, a few hairs here and there, they're really not bothering me. If they're gonna grow, for example, a bit longer or thicker, I'm just gonna plug them off. It's very few of them. I'll continue to update you guys how I'm doing on oral minoxidil, so make sure to subscribe to the channel and you don't miss the future videos. Also, do me a favor, turn that like button blue. Thank you. And for now, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out. Okay, testing the microphone. Let's see how this sound is. Hopefully it's not up like last time.